Hello again, family, friends, social media onlookers and gawkers, bystanders. Good to see it again. Thank you for coming back for part two of what I need to say about the upcoming No Kings protests on March 28th. In that previous post, I shared that I've been receiving notifications and invitations to those demonstrations in March, and I've given the matter some thought, and I'd like to share some more thoughts with you. The No Kings protests are directed primarily at one man, that is, the President of the United States and the administration that he supposedly manages. But that's the wrong target. That's the wrong direction. Authority in the United States resides in the ruling class of the imperial U.S. and not with just one individual or administration. This class would never cede its authority to just one man. I can't imagine those who are members of the ruling class, influential members of the ruling class, give all their authority, their power to just one man. So this talk about a one-man dictatorship is just simply nonsense. This class would never permit a single man to have power over it. This class will permit a single man to work for it, to represent and pursue its interests, to be its face, if you will, but it's never going to let a president seize full control of the system. The dictatorship in this country doesn't belong to one man. It belongs to an entire class of people. Let's indulge in the idealist fantasy for a minute, okay? Let's imagine that Trump and his coterie of sycophants are run out of office or they're voted out of office. Now, does their departure really bring about a revolutionary change in the system that allowed them to come to power? Would Trump's departure bring down the system that placed him there in the first place? Of course not. Now, it might be possible that some cosmetic reforms are put into place by the next group of partisans that happen to occupy the administration or the White House. But reforms can be repealed. And many of these reforms are unenforceable. They're just reforms on paper only. The people rarely ever see the benefits of those reforms. It's also crucial to understand and ask ourselves the question, where the funding and the organizing for these projects such as No Kings comes from. Now, I did a little bit of work on the internet, a little bit, looking around for these fundings and where this is all funded from. And what I found was the preponderance of funding, of promotion, and organizing for this permissible movement is coming from an acceptable and compliant left that won't go so far as to lead the working class into revolutionary systemic changes. They don't want to go there. You see, because political action committees like individual and movements like No Kings, organizations such as that, require a political duopoly. They need political antagonism. They need political enemies. They require political boogeymen to point their followers to keep their members riled up, and that funding gravy train rolling on. Movements like Indivisible are not interested in the unification, much less the rule, of the working class. They don't want the working class. They don't want the working class to have power, because that would mean necessary structural changes that would mean the elimination for the reason for existence. Nonprofits make money. They're not charities. Oh yeah, lots of it. Fundamental political and economic changes of the revolutionary type that would change this system for the better of everyone would shut that tap. And so movements like individual, no matter what the people on the right scream about them being commie or liberal or whatever the fuck it is they call them, right? They're not interested in overthrowing the system or doing away with it. They'll bark a bit about reforms, but that's as far as they're going to go. Now, I'm not saying that there's no worth in participating in the No Kings events, but it is not committed to resolving class struggle in the United States at all. Now, they might talk about democratic socialism, but it doesn't do away with capitalism. It doesn't do away with the disease. It doesn't cure anything. And it's yet another elaborately funded political movement with the purpose of sheepdogging ill-named progressives and certain elements of the working class back into the corral of the Democratic Party. And around and around and around we go again. That party is not, and it never has been, and never will be, a revolutionary party. But that's where they want you to go. So just remember, individual office holders and their administrators are not the target. Yeah, Trump is a terrible human being. I mean, talk about a reprobate, right? And his coterie, as I said, they're sycophants. These are sick people. They're sociopaths. Don't get me wrong, and they can do some damage, but they're not the target. They're just symptoms of the target, symptoms of the problem. They can be, and they will be, thrown under the bus. They'll be discarded by the ruling class when their worth or their term expires. So anyway, no, I'm not going to these protests unless there's good beer and good music. And if there is, well, I guess I'll see you there.